Use headphones for better experience.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about a very gripping and mind-bending psychological thriller called The Housemaid. The story opens with a calm yet strangely unsettling view of a grand and elegant house that looks peaceful and luxurious from the outside. As the film slowly unfolds, it becomes clear that behind those beautiful walls hides a deeply buried secret capable of destroying lives. We are then introduced to the main character, Millie, a young woman who has endured an incredibly tough chapter in her life. Having spent several years behind bars, she is now out on parole, which means she must stay extremely careful with every single action she takes. Any slip-up could send her straight back to prison. Determined to rebuild her life from scratch, Millie is searching desperately for a stable and ordinary job that will allow her to prove she has changed and start fresh without causing any trouble. In the opening scenes, we see Millie tirelessly job hunting across the city, going from interview to interview, filling out applications everywhere possible. But her past keeps catching up with her like an unwelcome shadow. As soon as employers discover her criminal record, doors slam shut in her face. Rejections pile up, her savings dwindle to almost nothing, and basic survival, food and a place to sleep, starts feeling like an impossible dream. In this moment of utter desperation, she stumbles upon an online job posting from a wealthy family seeking a live-in housemaid. The position isn't just about dusting and dishes. It includes full household responsibilities, taking care of their young child, running errands, and basically keeping their entire upscale life running smoothly. Excited by the opportunity, Millie applies and soon arrives for the interview at an absolutely stunning mansion called the Winchester House. When the door swings open, she meets Nina Winchester, the lady of the house, a strikingly beautiful, sophisticated woman who seems to have everything anyone could want. Yet from the very first second, there's an odd vibe about Nina. She's warm and welcoming one moment, chatting like an old friend. But then her mood flips without warning, revealing flashes of deep anxiety or something she's clearly trying to hide. During the interview, Nina asks point blank about Millie's background. Knowing full well that any reference check would expose the truth anyway, Millie decides to be upfront. She confesses that yes, she served time in prison, but she's determined to leave that chapter behind forever and live a clean and quiet life from now on. To her surprise, Nina doesn't freak out or show her the door. Instead, she offers a gentle smile and says something along the lines of everyone deserving a second chance. For Millie, that simple acceptance feels like the first real ray of hope she's had in years. Maybe this could be the turning point she's been waiting for. Then Andrew Winchester, Nina's husband, enters the scene. He's a successful, charismatic businessman who exudes confidence and charm. The kind of man who instantly comes across as the ideal husband and father figure. But even in these early moments, the film drops tiny and subtle hints about his controlling side. He has a way of making the final decisions on everything, and Nina often seems to shrink or become more reserved whenever he's in the room. Millie gets the job immediately, and as part of the package, she moves right into the house. They give her a small bedroom up in the attic, technically more of a converted storage space under the roof. The door to this room can actually be locked from the outside, which at first just seems like an odd, old house quirk, but trust me, this detail becomes hugely important later on. While getting settled, Millie meets the Winchesters' young daughter, Cece, a little girl who carries herself with a surprising amount of sharpness and attitude for someone her age. Her words often sound too mature, almost cold or judgmental, and she drops comments, especially about her grandmother Andrew's mother, that feel loaded with things no normal child should be thinking or saying. Within just a handful of days, Millie starts picking up on the strange energy permeating the entire house. Nina's behavior is wildly inconsistent. One minute she's kind and complimentary. The next she's exploding over imaginary mistakes, claiming Millie ruined an expensive item, added too much salt to dinner, or did something else that never actually happened. These accusations come so convincingly and repeatedly that Millie begins doubting herself, wondering if she's really slipping up without noticing. It feels like Nina is intentionally playing this game with Millie, chipping away at her confidence bit by bit. But whenever Andrew is around, Nina transforms completely. She goes quiet, careful, almost scared, like she's walking on thin ice. This sudden change is the first big clue that the real problem in this household might not be Nina after all. One day, while cleaning, Millie finds hidden items in Nina's closet, like hurried, half-written notes and secretive papers, things that scream someone is under massive stress and possibly trying to find a way out of a nightmare. Nina never explains any of it though. On the flip side, Andrew starts showing Millie extra kindness, praising her constantly, offering her nice gifts like clothes or small luxuries, and slowly building what seems like a friendly and supportive bond. But underneath the surface politeness, there's an unsettling edge. His attention feels too personal and too calculated, carrying a hidden motive that's hard to ignore. These little moments gradually make it clear. This glamorous house and family are anything but perfect. What Millie saw as her lucky break and fresh start is actually pulling her deeper into a dangerous trap, one that's much harder to escape than she ever thought possible. By the end of this first major section, Millie realizes every person in the Winchester family is hiding layers of secrets. Nina lives in constant, unspoken terror. Cece behaves with a maturity and harshness way beyond her years. And Andrew, despite his polished exterior, quietly dominates and controls everything around him. And that attic room where Millie sleeps, it's starting to feel less like a bedroom and more like something far more sinister. As the days go by, Millie throws herself completely into the work, doing everything perfectly because she knows losing this job could destroy her second chance at freedom. She cleans non-stop, cooks meals, looks after Cece, all with total dedication. Andrew seems genuinely impressed, often telling her how much better the house feels since she arrived. Nina, though, becomes more and more unpredictable. She might give Millie an expensive dress one day, encouraging her to wear it and enjoy herself, only to accuse her of theft or misuse the very next moment. These wild mood swings leave Millie confused, off balance, and constantly second-guessing herself. Whenever anything goes wrong, Nina finds a way to pin it on Millie, even in front of Andrew, making her look unreliable and mistake-prone. One afternoon, Nina lays out strict house rules. Certain rooms are off-limits without permission. Specific items can't be touched, and she oddly stresses that the attic door must always stay locked, even though it's literally Millie's own room. Millie initially thinks it's just rich people eccentricity, but it soon feels like part of a bigger web of things being hidden. On the other side, Cece's words get stranger too. She talks calmly about people being good or deserving punishment in ways that shock Millie and feel far too adult for a child. Andrew begins seeking out more private conversations with Millie, asking about her past and casually mentioning that Nina has long battled mental instability and delusions, which make her act irrationally sometimes. Hearing this, Millie starts leaning toward the idea that Nina really is the unstable one. Andrew grows even closer, suggesting he take Millie out to the city for a change of scenery, saying she deserves some happiness after her hard life. Though it sounds caring, his gestures start crossing lines between boss and employee, making Millie increasingly uncomfortable about what he really wants. This is exactly where the film starts building toward its major twists, because Millie has no clue yet that the person she's beginning to trust the most is actually the most dangerous one in the entire story. One ordinary morning, while Millie is going about her usual routine, cleaning different areas of the house and helping Cece get ready for school, she notices Nina acting extremely anxious and on edge. Nina keeps glancing nervously out the windows over and over again, as though she is either waiting for someone to arrive or desperately hoping to avoid whoever might be coming. When Millie gently asks if everything is okay, Nina brushes it off with a quick yes. Everything's fine, but her face tells a completely different story. Her eyes are wide with fear. Her hands tremble slightly and her voice carries an unmistakable undercurrent of panic that she can't fully hide. Around the same time, Andrew's true nature starts coming into sharper focus. One evening when Nina is not at home, he walks into the kitchen where Millie is working and begins complimenting her heavily. He tells her she is by far the hardest working person in the house, that he's genuinely impressed by how she's kept going despite everything she's been through in life. The praise sounds kind at first, but slowly the conversation turns personal. He starts asking deeper questions about her past, her feelings, her experiences, things an employer has no real business probing into. Millie feels a growing unease during this exchange. His words are wrapped in sympathy, yet there's an intensity behind them. a kind of personal interest that crosses normal boundaries and makes her skin crawl. That's when it really hits her. Maybe Andrew's intentions have never been as innocent as they appeared. Then they get too close intimately. And here we see that Nina comes and gets angry seeing them both together like this. Millie runs away to her room in fear and the night passes like this. The scene cuts and then we see that Millie is up in her attic room. She hears loud and angry shouting rising from downstairs, clear sounds of a violent argument. She creeps quietly down the stairs and peeks around the corner to see Andrew and Nina in the middle of a ferocious fight. In a fit of rage, Andrew grabs Nina by the arm and slams her hard against the wall. It's unmistakable physical violence. Seeing this, Millie's mind flips. For the first time, she seriously considers that Nina might not be the unstable one after all. Maybe Andrew is the real source of danger in this house. That very evening, however, everything changes forever. Without any explanation or warning, Nina suddenly disappears from the house. Andrew calmly tells Millie that Nina does this kind of thing sometimes, dramatic exits because of her unstable mental state. And now that she's gone, Millie will have to handle all the household responsibilities alone. At first, Millie doesn't question it too much. She's seen Nina's erratic behavior enough times to think it could be true. But as the night wears on, the atmosphere in the house grows heavier and more threatening than ever before. Now it's just Millie and Andrew left in this massive and isolated mansion. And this is the exact point where the story plunges into full nightmare territory. In the days that follow, Andrew's attitude toward Millie becomes strangely gentle and attentive, almost as if he's trying to convince her and maybe himself that he's actually a good man and that Nina was always the problem. He repeatedly explains that Nina used to accuse him of things that never happened, that she suffered from wild delusions and irrational fears. One day, while Millie is cleaning, a plate falls from her hand and breaks, which turns out to be one of Andrew's special dishes that he used to order from China and collect. Andrew gets very angry, but he ignores it and goes to the office. Night falls, and as Millie heads up to the attic to sleep, Andrew appears behind her without warning. And now the charming and polished smile is gone. He shuts the door, locks it, and in an eerily calm voice tells her that it's time she learned the real rules of living in this house, because everyone who stays here has to follow his rules. Then comes the most horrifying demand of the film. He hands her a jagged shard from a broken china plate and orders her to carve exactly 21 cuts into her own stomach. At first, Millie thinks she must have misheard. It's so barbaric and insane that it feels like a sick joke. But when Andrew walks out and locks the door behind him, reality crashes in. This is no joke. It's a command. Inside the room, there is almost nothing. A few bottles of water, a bucket to use as a toilet, and that's it. No food, no way to call for help. Millie is now a prisoner in her own bedroom. She immediately tries everything, banging on the door, screaming for help, hoping someone outside might hear, but the thick walls of the old mansion swallow every sound. Hours pass and her strength fades. Eventually, she collapses on the floor in tears. Here the film cuts to a flashback that finally reveals the full truth of Millie's past. As a teenager, she had a crush on a boy. One day, she witnessed him brutally abusing another girl. Overcome with rage, Millie attacked him. The injuries were fatal and he died. Because the boy came from a powerful, wealthy family, the court showed no mercy and sentenced Millie to 15 years in prison. And now she was eventually paroled after 10. That violent act is exactly why she's been so desperate to rebuild her life quietly and stay out of trouble ever since. Back in the present, locked in the attic, the memory of Nina's note floods back. Millie realizes Nina may have deliberately set her up to take the focus, sacrificing Millie so she herself could finally escape Andrew's control. Desperate to survive, Millie decides the only way out is to play along for now. In agonizing pain, crying out with every movement, she begins cutting into her own stomach with the sharp porcelain shard, one cut after another. By the time she finishes the 21st, her body is covered in blood, her strength is gone, and she collapses unconscious on the bed. Sometime later, Andrew returns and opens the door, looks down at her and says coldly, "Now you understand the rules." But he has no idea that while she was suffering, Millie had already formed a plan of her own. As he stands over her talking, she suddenly pulls out a knife hidden there earlier by Nina. Without hesitation, Millie drives the blade straight into Andrew's throat. He staggers back in shock. In that split second, Millie scrambles past him, rushes out of the room and slams the door shut, locking him inside. And now the power has completely shifted. The moment the tables turn completely, the man who had locked Millie away in that attic room now finds himself trapped inside the exact same space with the door bolted from the outside. Standing just beyond the locked door, Millie speaks to him in a calm and steady voice. She tells him that now there will be some new rules in this house. Rules that she is setting, and if he wants to stay alive, he will have to follow them without question. With those words, the entire power dynamic of the story flips in an instant. Andrew, who had spent so long manipulating and breaking women, suddenly experiences the same helplessness and terror he had inflicted on others. Now Millie lays out her first demand. She slides a wrench under the door and instructs him to pull out one of his own front teeth right there with his bare hands and push it back out to her. When he demands to know why, she answers without emotion that perfect charming smile of his was the weapon he always used to lure women in, to make them trust him, to disarm them before the cruelty began. So now she is going to take that weapon away from him forever. At first Andrew refuses, shouting threats, reminding her who he is. But time passes, no one comes, no rescue. The house stays silent. His bluster gradually crumbles into desperation, then into pained whimpers. Eventually, crying out in agony, he does it and he forces the tooth out and slides it under the door. Millie doesn't open the door. Later, after the tooth is delivered, Millie takes another step designed to break him further. She knows how obsessively attached Andrew is to his expensive and irreplaceable china collection. Those perfect and delicate pieces he treats almost like trophies. So she begins smashing them one by one on the floor right outside the attic door, letting the sharp cracks and shattering sounds echo up to him. Each crash is a reminder of everything he is losing, everything he can no longer control. Meanwhile, across town in a quiet restaurant, Nina sits with her daughter Cecilia, trying to start what looks like a normal new life. But Cece suddenly says something that freezes Nina. She says even if we left, Millie is still in that house with Dad. What if he does the same thing to her that he always does to everyone else? Those innocent yet chilling words hit Nina like a wave of guilt and terror. She realizes she can't just walk away and pretend nothing is happening. Without hesitation, she decides she has to go back to the house and check on Millie. Back at the Winchester mansion, Millie is still holding Andrew captive, wrestling with what comes next. She knows that if the police get involved, her criminal record and parole status will make her the easiest person to blame, no matter what the truth is. Then Nina returns quietly, slipping into the house, assuming Millie is still locked in the attic. She hurries upstairs and unlocks the door to free her. The second the door opens, Andrew bursts out wounded and ready for blood. The moment he sees Millie standing there, all his rage reignites. He lunges at her. Millie runs for her life, escaping through the house and out the front door. Andrew, bleeding and unsteady, stumbles downstairs and comes face to face with Nina. In a shocking shift, he suddenly drops to pleading, apologizing and promising they can start over and rebuild their family. But Nina is no longer the frightened woman he once knew. She tells him flatly that she will never spend another second with a man like him. Enraged by her rejection, Andrew attacks her. They struggle violently near the grand central staircase. At that exact moment, Millie returns. Without a second's hesitation, she rushes forward and shoves Andrew with all her strength. He loses his balance and falls down the long flight of stairs. His body crashes hard at the bottom and lies still. Andrew is dead. Millie and Nina stand in silence, looking at each other. There is no anger left between them, only the shared understanding that they were both victims of the same monster. Then scene cuts and we see that Nina takes full responsibility of this kill, so she calls the police and tells them a carefully crafted version. She says when she returned home, she found Andrew dead at the bottom of the stairs. It appeared he had been changing a light bulb, lost his footing and fallen. The police come quickly along with a female detective assigned to the case. As she examines the scene, she immediately notices inconsistencies, the knife wound on Andrew's throat and the missing tooth, none of which fit a simple accident. But then a deeper truth emerges. The detective already knows Andrew personally. Years earlier, he had been engaged to her own sister Kathleen. During that relationship, Andrew subjected Kathleen to the exact same pattern of psychological abuse and cruelty that later destroyed Nina. The damage was so severe that Kathleen's mental health never fully recovered. Finally, she makes her decision. In her official report, she rules Andrew's death an accident. With that single act, Millie and Nina are spared. And somewhere inside, the detective feels she has delivered a small measure of long overdue justice for her sister. Now, in the final scene, Nina approaches her quietly and hands her a check for $1,000, enough to help her start over. And now we see that Nina also recommends Millie for a job with one of her friends. Millie goes for the interview. When she meets the woman, she immediately notices old scars on her hands. In that instant, Millie understands. Another house, another abuser, and another woman trapped. And now in the final scene, a small knowing smile crosses her face. And calmly she asks, "When can I start the job?" And with that scene, movie ends. The film isn't just a thriller. It's a stark reminder that fighting back against abuse sometimes requires extraordinary courage, and that justice can arrive from the most unexpected places.